Hello, everyone, and thank you for dropping into this edition of Walking the Ropes. I'm Caleb.
And I'm Blake. We have an awesome show for you today. We'll be covering the news from today and a little bit from yesterday, from what we didn't talk about, and we'll be recapping what happened on last night's Raw.
Yeah, but before we get going on that, remember if you would like to check out all of our stuff, you can find anything related to Walking the Ropes through our link tree. That includes our Redbubble, our Buy Me a Coffee, as well as all of our social media links and podcast links. So make sure to give that a look. And actually, some exciting, little bit of exciting news regarding the podcast here. Before we get going, this morning I actually got the notification that we were approved on Amazon.
Nice.
So if you have Amazon compatible devices such as Alexas and whatnot, you can actually just ask them to play Walking the Ropes with Blake and Caleb. They'll pull up the episode. So that's a really cool thing. I actually tested it on mine. I got the
Oh
email
yeah.
and I was like, really? And I immediately shouted across my room at my Echo and was like, does it work? And it pulled it up. So
Oh, that's amazing.
that
Yeah,
was really fun to
that's so
find
cool.
out. But yeah. So raw.
Yeah, it was. Or do we want to do the news first?
Yes, news. Let's not forget the news. I've got a handful here. First one I've got here, which I want to mention because just really cool thing. Kane is donating his paycheck from the Royal Rumble. I don't have the name of the charity, but he's donating it to charity.
Nice.
Which I think was that's a really cool thing.
Yeah,
For
for
him to
sure.
do. Obviously being a mayor and whatnot. It
Well, and a legend
and
too.
exactly. I think he's done this in the past as well. I feel like I remember like when they were doing like the Brothers of Destruction DX stuff. I feel like I remember him donating his earnings to charities or stuff. But
Yeah, for like the Super Showdown and stuff like
yeah,
that, or whatever they were on.
yeah. Whatever those
Yeah.
shows were,
Yeah.
I don't remember which ones. Crown Jewel and Super Showdown and all that crap. I don't know.
Yeah. Greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah, yeah. That there was a handful of different ones that they did. So,
Yeah.
but I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
Uh,
I have a really neat one, and a big congratulations to AEW referee Aubrey Edwards for celebrating 400 days alcohol free.
yes, I saw that this morning on my Twitter timeline. Really awesome. Yeah, big congratulations. Um,
Absolutely. Like that is nothing easy to do is and to announce that she's doing that as well is completely amazing, and we all, I'm assuming here, support her.
oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah, really awesome.
Probably the best ref for AEW.
Oh yeah. I mean, I absolutely love Aubrey Edwards. Like, um, I mean, the thing is so many iconic moments through AEW history already. She's cemented right in that picture there. I
Right.
mean, the first ever world title match at
Yeah.
All Out, like, it's
Well, I remember she refed All In, and I had a lot of gripes with her because she seemed like a referee that would get in the way a lot. Like she tried to be on camera a lot. And that once she became a regular ref on AEW, she mastered it. She was completely out of the way of the camera the entire time.
yeah.
And I think it's probably because All In was the first time in a while she had been on a camera
Well,
refing.
you got to remember, like, when they're doing these indie shows and that, even if they are filming them, because I mean, like, Pro Wrestling Gorilla and stuff like that, they filmed them, but by no means, like, and this isn't a shot, but there's a big difference between filming in a bingo hall or a Legion hall or stuff like that with
For
a
sure.
handful of camcorders, editing it together and posting it on your website or something, versus a full scale TV production, right?
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
there's generally at most of these shows no hard cam, or if there is, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, it's independent pro wrestling. it's more for the fans there, less for the ones that are going to be watching it after, as bad as that sounds.
Yeah,
um
exactly.
but versus TV, where you've got all these cameras and all these cues, and like it's overwhelming. So like, yeah, like the first few it was like, but like all the refs were like that a lot. Like Rick Knox was even like that. If you go back to Double or Nothing and stuff like that, there was a lot of moments where
Yeah.
it was like, hey Knox, move.
Yeah, and I think I might have noticed it more with Aubrey because she was also the first female ref I had ever seen.
Very,
So
very well,
maybe
yeah.
but, like I said, she has probably turned herself into the best ref AEW has ever had and probably will ever have, and likely will be the referee going forward for all title matches, and I think she has been for every single title match,
Except
except
for
for
the
maybe the tag.
tag team, that's usually Rick Knox.
Yeah, because he's
Um,
more of a tag specialist or the
yeah.
Bucks referee.
Well, that's just it. He's basically, in a sense, the Bucks' personal ref. I mean, they're the one
Yeah,
that got him hired in that. So
exactly. So, but I look at her as the like she refed big dudes. I'm pretty sure she refed Jake Hager and Wardlow. Um
yeah,
eh,
probably. I off the top of
like
my head, I'm not sure, but I can definitely probably see her in that.
I and that's just amazing. She's a fantastic ref.
Yeah,
So,
and I
I
I mean, some of my favorite things. Before we move on here, like her and Jericho, every time she refs a Jericho match, like they've always got a moment there, which is
yeah.
great because it's not like it's only been a one-time thing. Like it started at, All Out, and it's
Yeah.
been a continuous thing that they're always in each other's face at some point. Well, Aubrey's trying to, enforce the rules, and
Yeah.
it's Jericho,
Yeah,
right?
he wants to, like, as far as current wrestlers, he's the dirtiest player in the game, like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
he gets away with everything and does it better than I'd argue even Rick did it at one point.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I'm not
Um
saying Rick was bad at it. I'm just saying Jericho has mastered it in a certain way that Rick never did.
yeah. Speaking of Ric Flair, this isn't actually in my notes, but I want to bring it up. Um Raw Talk last night after the show. I tend to catch the highlights if something pops up on my Twitter or something. And there was a segment with Lacey Evans and Ric Flair. Um and it's actually got me more invested
Okay.
in uh this whole bit with them. Because Lacey Evans, like, big props to her on the promo that she gave. She basically said, like, think of where I've been so far since I came here through NXT, SmackDown to Raw. Think of the opportunities I've gotten, Royal Rumbles, championship matches, this and that. And she goes, what have I accomplished? What have I accomplished? She goes, so you want to know why, you know, this is happening? She goes, because I saw, and obviously she kind of goes into character a bit here, like this handsome man, blah, 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 blah. And like, he's got a brain for the business. So why wouldn't I? Why
No,
why
and
wouldn't I? And Flair cuts a promo after, which was phenomenal. And he goes, like, you see this on my hand, see this gold on my hand, not this Rolex on my arm, like I've had 30 of these, this, and he points to the Hall of Fame ring, and he goes, I've got 2 of these, and soon I'll have 3 once Randy retires, and I bet you one day I'll have 4, because that's how damn good of a wrestler and a mind of this business I was and am. And he goes,
I
if
wonder what that
somebody,
fourth one would be.
it's hard to say. Um, but like, he made the point, like, he goes, like, if they're just gonna start giving away Hall of Fame rings for just the minds of pro wrestling, like, I deserve one. Is basically where I think he was going with it. But
For
just
sure.
making very solid points. And he goes, if somebody wants my knowledge, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it. Like Lacey Evans, she was a Marine. She's not afraid of hard work. And I think it was Charlie Caruso. made the point of like your daughter's on the roster, and he goes, yeah, and she's got 13, 14 world titles.
Yeah.
So he's like, we're gonna
Is she
start with
really up to
one.
that much already?
Yep, yep. But he's like, we're gonna start with one, and we're gonna go from there, and we're just gonna keep moving forward. And I sat there at the end of it, and I'm like, nobody can ever tell me Flair can't cut a promo.
Oh no, he's a great person to have on promo. And I've never argued with pairing him with Lacey. I argued with the involvement with Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, it goes hand in hand for the first bit. I
Yeah, I
felt
hope that this storyline completely separates itself from Charlotte as of right now. I think it's run its course with Charlotte already.
I think we really just need to get to finish it off because we haven't had it yet. Because I do
I,
want it to end. We need Lacey versus Charlotte. And if I'm
I
being
guess, yeah.
honest, if we're gonna push Lacey and Rick further, let Lacey pick up the victory and then let Flair have to kind of pick herself back up and rebuild that.
Well, yeah, I'd say so what's the next pay-per-view? Is it going to be Fastlane?
Fastlane.
So either this one, or if they do Elimination Chamber, which I imagine they will.
Yes, elimination. Yeah, it'll be Fastlane, Chamber, and then Mania.
So either one of those pay-per-views have Lacey and Charlotte in a number one contenders match for the Raw Women's title,
Sure.
because Bianca's definitely going for the SmackDown, even though they haven't confirmed that or not yet. And then have Rick cost Charlotte the title, or the opportunity, and that be the end of it. And I'd say let Lacey win the title at Mania, because what does Asuka need to do? Let her go back to NXT and become the Empress of Tomorrow again.
Like honestly, Lacey Evans, that's another one that when she came up, I was like, we'll see how this goes. And for a while I didn't like it. And then I started to enjoy the character, and since pairing her with Rick, the only portion that I haven't liked is the continuous involvement with Charlotte. Even though it does make sense,
Yeah,
I just I want it to go past Charlotte. I think if we know we're going to keep getting Lacey and Rick after this whole Charlotte thing's done, I can look back on the whole thing and be happy with it. If we split Lacey and Rick up as soon as we get Lacey and Charlotte, then it's going to be kind of a bummer of
yeah.
a story. But
That
yeah,
promo you
like
just talked about, like they cut that promo where it seems like he's being her manager until she wins that first title at the very least.
yeah,
So if they do drop it right at Charlotte, you have a very good point. That's not good storytelling.
yeah, it's a waste. So but it'll be interesting without a doubt to see.
Yeah,
And really quick, you had mentioned Bel Air and her
I
going
did
for
see.
the SmackDown title. The thing is according to the dirt sheets, once again, you take the dirt sheets at only so much of a
Yeah,
uh like
and that
figuring
is why I
they're
said it's
real
not
and whatnot.
confirmed. But
But apparently her match is still up in the air. They're not sure
yeah,
who they want her to face,
yeah,
which I
and I
find
think in
interesting.
if we were looking at the same post, it also talked about Edge's decision.
Edge is gonna it's gonna be Edge
Yeah,
and Reigns
yeah,
is supposedly the planned match at this very moment. And the thing is
right.
I had said that I think on our last one, the Rumble recap, where I figured that's the route they were going, because I
But
just
I don't see him beating Reigns, and that I don't want to have. I don't want to see Edge lose at Mania.
I could see him going over Reigns though. I mean, there's no reason he
Just I don't have
can't.
faith. I just don't have faith.
Well, it's really hard to when they build Reigns up to what he is for sure.
Well, and the match has to be better than a last man standing match too, if they want to sell it right. Because if they're going to have Reigns beat Edge, they need to sell Edge as a bigger competitor than KO and whoever the next challenger is for the next few things. So the match has to be at the very least better than a last man standing match.
Well, I would not be surprised if Edge wins. The thing is yeah, like you're talking Reigns and Kevin Owens. I mean, not to knock Kevin Owens at all. I mean, Kevin Owens, I'm a huge fan of,
For
huge
sure.
fan of. I was a huge fan of Kevin Steen in the Independence.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, I little biased in my sense. A lot of the time when I find a good Canadian wrestler, I I have a hard time not supporting them in a sense.
absolutely.
It's like Sami Zayn, uh, 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 Uno and Grayson. I was gonna say
Yeah,
Super Smash Bros, but I'm like, no, what are they now? Dark Order.
yeah.
Like when Uno and Grayson went down, I'm like, I heavily support Canadian pro wrestlers, um, but like not to knock on Kevin Owens any, as I was saying, but you could put Owens and Reigns plain old one-on-one match, and then you could put Edge and Reigns in a plain old one-on-one match, and I guarantee you Edge and Reigns will do better every day of the week.
For sure.
And that's not a knock on Owens at
But
all.
that's what I mean. It has to be a better match. I'm not saying it has to be more like aggressive than the last man standing match. It just has to be a better match.
Yeah, I bet you if you put them in there, because you had mentioned on the Royal Rumble podcast there that the match really felt like they looked at them and went like, you got 25 minutes, go out there, Reigns goes over, have fun.
Yeah.
I honestly think if they were to do that for Edge and Reigns, I bet you we'd get probably one of the best matches in WrestleMania history.
Well, and I hope it's Reigns' best match ever because it likely will be Edge's last match.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I'll be
I'm
waiting to see, because like the thing is it is really just a matter of does he want to go longer after winning the title?
If he wins the title, the point that I see in this story is he wants to win the title back that he never lost, and from what I can see, it's going to be go out the way he wants to, not as a defeated man, but as the champion who is choosing that this is when I can go out. And it kind of sucks he's already in the Hall of Fame. They kind of pulled that trigger a little too early, it seems now.
Well,
But
looking at it 8 years later,
right,
we're like, yeah, it
exactly.
was a little early, but at the time, he was never supposed to come back. So
Exactly, right? It was a shoe-in. As soon as he retired, everybody's like Hall of Fame immediately, and he headlined the next year. Like,
yeah,
it was not a bad thing when they gave it to him, but I'm saying now, once he has that world title, what does he do next? Well, normally you'd say Hall of Fame, but
you know what? Sure, put him in the Hall of Fame again, Edge and Christian.
okay, fine. Yeah, that's fair. The Edge and Christian in the Hall of Fame, sure, but I thought you were just gonna say put Edge in the Hall of Fame twice.
No, no,
I was like,
Edge
you'd
and
have to put
Christian.
Flair in twice first, but by himself, like,
Oh yeah, like but put Edge and Christian, or even the thing is I've made the point in the past, and some people have agreed with me, some people haven't. I don't think I've ever made it to you. Honestly, I could see it at one point, with how the Hall of Fame has evolved over time. I would not be surprised if we start in a way putting matches in as some of like the best matches in history. Because the thing is like TLC won, Dudley's, Hardy's, Edge and Christian,
they
like
already have a superstar wing, or not a
a
superstar, a celebrity
celebrity.
wing. So I mean, it would make sense, especially once Vince pulls the trigger on the physical Hall of Fame,
Oh,
to
exactly.
have video packages of each match in, say, a hallway for like with pictures and cuts of the ring, because I imagine they have still pieces of every ring
Oh, more
that
than likely.
going all the way back to the 80s, I imagine.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Well, I
um,
mean, their warehouse is huge. They've
the,
got stuff from everything. They've got ring skirts still from the
they
70s and
still have the
80s in
fist.
Madison. Well, why would you ever get rid of that fist? Like,
Right. But I have a feeling that warehouse is one of like 30. And
oh,
every time
they
we see it, it's a different warehouse just
oh
shown, like, so that way it looks like it's a different area of it, just.
Well, there's definitely either there's multiple warehouses or it's one big freaking warehouse cuz
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff.
that's what I mean, and I don't see Vince as a type of person to, like, sell his things. Like, I've seen wrestlers selling their gear, but if Vince can claim it as his, I don't think he sells it.
I know that they did uh I don't remember how long ago they did a warehouse auction where they had stuff from the warehouse that was auctioned off.
But was it, like,
Um
legendary stuff, or was it just kinda things
there
you would
was there was like stuff that was used at Mania and stuff like that. But like the thing is, there's stuff sitting in there. Just recently we had the anniversary of The Rock versus Mankind in the I Quit match. The iconic, what was it, 24 chair shots to the head
Yeah,
on Mankind.
the handcuff.
That chair still sits in the warehouse. Mick
Good,
Foley
and it should be
revealed.
framed.
Mick Foley revealed that he's gone through the warehouse a bunch of times, and every time that chair is sitting there with
I'd
his
frame
blood
it.
and hair
Mhm.
still on it from 20 years ago.
That would be a bit of like I'd take my kids and, "Hey, you wanna see your dad from the past? Look, there's my hair, there's my blood."
Well, if you ever watch a documentary on that match, his kids were roughed up after that match.
His kids, I think even everybody was.
Oh, his wife was pissed.
I've explained, to, like, non-wrestling fans that match before because they were like, "Well, you're a big wrestling fan, why?" I was like, "Because they can do crazy things." And they're like, "Give me an example." So I was like, "Okay,
24 chair shots
well"
to the head or more. I don't remember how many it was.
right? No, I'm talking about, I was specifically gonna say Taker's, cell throw, and the one where he goes through is the one I usually give them, actually.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And so I explained to them, like, he gets thrown off of I think it's a 20-foot cell.
At that point, it was about 20 foot, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, onto a table, and that's not I mean, the table braced the fall a little bit, but it's a
Not
hard
really.
table. It's a hard table, like,
The tables nowadays brace the fall even more.
yeah, and then I'm like, "Yeah, but after that, they go back up." And they're like, "What do you mean they go back up?" I was like, "Well, they climb back up to the top, and he gets choke slammed through the thing." They're like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "No, like, he goes through the cage onto the mat and, like, dies almost."
Yeah, well, the thing is there's obviously documentary regarding that match too, and Mick Foley talks like after
Yeah.
the match. Like the thing is them putting him on the stretcher after Taker threw him off. That wasn't storyline or anything. They thought he
No,
was done. They thought
no.
that was the match. And Taker even has talked about like he's like they were raising the cage and I'm standing on top going like, did I just kill Mick? And
Yeah.
then him going through obviously was not planned and all
No.
that. And after the match, they actually put him on Vince's desk, which is where
Mhm.
they fixed him up. And Mick says like Vince came in, looked at him, and went, "Thank you for what you just did, but never do that again."
Yeah.
Like that just shows like how fucking crazy that match was.
It really does, and it proves that since then, seeing as nobody has ever gone through that cage again, and the amount of spots we have seen on it, proves that Vince has put the effort and the money into mastering that cell to make sure nobody ever gets hurt in it again,
Yeah,
the way that Mick did. Obviously, we get people tossed off them all the time, but if you look carefully, you can see airbags under the,
the
announce
announce
tables
tables
most
now.
like
Yeah, oh yeah, just watch Shane's elbow from the top to Taker in
yeah.
well that was WrestleMania 32 at
Mm,
AT&T. Like
yeah,
the table literally deflates after he hits it. Which the
and,
thing is for their safety, I have no issue with that.
absolutely. Like, and it makes perfect sense. You can't have these cool spots and expect a person to walk away fine from what is it now, 40 feet the cell or 30 feet?
30, it's taller. It's
Like
taller.
it's a lot taller, like
How
and
tall
you
is the
even
hell?
the steel cage that AEW has, I'd say it's probably the same height
Okay,
as the cell.
so the original cell was 16 feet,
Okay.
and now it is 20.
Okay.
Which I mean, that's still a 4 foot jump. Like that 4 feet when you're talking something that's already 16 feet high. Adding an extra 4 feet to that is a lot.
Oh yeah, well, the example we can give is Cody with the steel cage. He didn't realize the what was it, 3 feet? The AEW steel cage was taller than WWE's. Made
Something
that
like that.
difference. Like, because you can noticeably see when they lower that cage or however they do it. I can't remember how they did it. The cage is massive. And
Uh, the cage is 20 feet tall.
yeah, so it's the exact same size as the cell, but it sits on top of the ring instead.
Yeah, well that freaking that cage that AEW
Yeah.
uh had was
I wouldn't be
massive.
surprised if they have a smaller one now. Um,
Well, it
but
weighed like 6 tons, I think they said. Like it was big.
yeah.
But I liked it.
Oh, for sure. It looked nice. And I think they can use it in a specific match again, but get a steel cage, like a smaller one for steel cage matches, I think.
Nah, keep using that. It makes
Yeah.
it unique. Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, saying that, I wish Impact would go back to the six-sided ring.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
But yeah. What else you got?
yeah, other than Booker T making a fun little joke about Carlito wanting him to join the Hurt Business, I don't have anything.
Oh, you don't?
No,
Okay.
unfortunately.
I have three more things here real quick. Jay Uso was not medically cleared, which is why he was
Oh,
not at the Rumble. It
I
is
didn't
not
see that.
said as to why or what was wrong. But he apparently was not medically cleared.
Interesting.
Christian has apparently signed a part-time deal.
I did see that. I forgot to mark that down.
So that will be interesting. I have my fingers crossed we get an Edge and Christian tag team match at some point before they're both done again. I
I mean,
I'd love to
yeah.
see them together. I mean, hell, the thing is if Edge thinks he can go a little longer, give him the world title at Mania, let him have a good run, let him lose it at like SummerSlam or something, and then give us an Edge and Christian title run, tag team title run again. Like I am a-okay with that.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Although, I mean, like I've said, I would wish Edge's last title to be a world title. I mean, I guess make them run with the tag titles, then have Edge go for the world title one more time. What would that put him at? Like 11 or 12?
Yeah, see, I'm not sure what he's at right now. I think he's only at
He
like
doesn't have
8.
many.
He's only at
I'm gonna
about
check right
8,
now.
I think. Um, but yeah. Anyways, and the final bit of news that I have here, was, or sorry, I have one more point after this. Um, this one here, Randy Orton wants Karrion Kross to come up to Raw. Um, so Karrion Kross had posted a short almost film, like a promo vignette on his Twitter. Um, and I watched it. It was pretty cool. And Randy Orton put out a tweet saying, "Get your ass up here and let's fight and make some money and crack a beer. What the fuck you waiting for? Time? Fuck time. Haha, I'll set my alarm." And Karrion
Yeah.
Kross responded with, "Sounds good to me."
I mean,
So
I'd be okay with that.
that I found kind of neat. And I just read here as I was finding that apparently Bernard the Business Bear returned in Sammy Guevara's latest vlog as of today.
Oh, nice.
Um, so that's something for you. That's news to me. Um,
Yeah.
did you find how many world titles before I throw my last piece out?
Um, so I see he quoted on Wikipedia, he is a record 7-time world champion and a WWE champion 4 times. So he has the most world heavyweight title reigns, as in big gold, with 7. and has 4 WWE Championship reigns, combining to be 11. So, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I just found here. Yeah, he's won 31 championships in total in WWE, 11 world titles for WWE, and the record 7 world heavyweight, 5 intercontinental, 1 United States, 14 tag team championships, and is one of only 2 wrestlers, Kurt Angle being the other one, who has held every currently active male championship in WWE.
Minus the Universal.
Well, in a sense, the world champion, like to say what's still active, obviously not including now the universal.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna say, I was like, but hey, by the end of Mania, he'll be the only.
yep, yep, I guess so. Um, Final bit of news here. It was revealed on an interview, I would say probably released within the last 24 hours or so. Uh, Both Ray and Dominic Mysterio tested positive for COVID-19 in December,
I
which is
read
why
something
they were
about
absent.
this. I'd seen that like Dom's tests were all negative, but Ray's tests were positive.
Yeah. Well, I've got
But Dom
here
was sick,
from
so
the interview here that Ray's parents ended up having COVID and they were taking care of them. Um, and that uh they brought it to their house, passed it on to his housekeeper, and his
mhm,
housekeeper passed it on to his wife.
right,
Uh and he found out Friday just before he walked into the arena. He was in Tampa, just outside of the arena, and he got notified that um his housekeeper had tested positive.
right.
So
Yeah, towards the end, it says, like, they started getting tests each, like, so Ray and his wife quarantined in their room, but then on the Wednesday, Dom's test was negative, but he was still feeling sick.
yeah. So
So that's why I didn't write it in the news, because like, I don't know if that, like, because Dom's said it was negative, but he was just sick. So,
well,
I don't know. That's why I didn't write it in my news, because I wasn't sure how valid it was. Because
yeah.
Ray's obviously talking, right? Obviously, he had it, but as far as Dom goes, who knows?
Well, I didn't read through the whole thing. The thing is it says that Ray confirmed both him and Dominic were positive. So
For sure. It was just the last little line kind of confused me, because Ray was like, I tested positive and quarantined in my room. Dominic started sick Tuesday, got his test, and he was negative, but still felt sick on Wednesday. And then that was where the quote ended.
okay, so
So
hard to say. But if that's it for news, we can roll on to our raw results,
yeah, for
which,
sure.
as we were talking beforehand, probably won't take overly long. I mean, it was a good raw, but it wasn't like it didn't feel like they tried to shove absolutely everything they could into 3 hours. It actually felt like a decently paced show most of the show.
I just wish they would have lengthened out some of the matches,
Yeah,
and then maybe it would have been a better, almost perfect show, similar to like our era as kids, when we would be in awe of almost every single match.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so Raw opens, Drew comes out, which surprised me. I expected Edge,
Mhm.
honestly, right off the bat.
Me too.
But Drew comes out and starts talking and congratulating everybody for the Rumble and stuff like that.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, he cut a really nice promo about what everything happened on at the Rumble and whatever. Talked about his win over Goldberg, and I think even like congratulated Goldberg in some way, like complimented him in some way. And then pretty much calls out Edge, and then again before Drew can even finish what he's gonna say, Edge's music hits, similar to the way Goldberg
yep,
did.
yeah. Edge comes out, and this is where it gets interesting in this segment because Drew starts just throwing praise at Edge, and I'm like, it's a fair point. And even before Edge said anything, I was sitting there going like I understand he's a legend. He pulled off an amazing feat last night. But like, dude, you're the world champ.
Yeah.
Like, take it back a notch. You realize like you are one of three possible people
I guess he could go for the NXT title.
that, well, the thing is, he can.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
world title.
Yeah. It is.
Like, I don't expect him to show up tomorrow night, but the thing is we know from last year with Charlotte that
Finn
NXT.
and Edge.
Hey man, I would prefer that over the other two in my opinion,
You
but
know, WWE, if you're listening at all, I think that would be a better booking decision.
oh, 100%. I mean, throw those two in the main event with 30 minutes. Oh my god. um
Edge doesn't even have to win in that case, and I'd be fine with it.
oh,
Like,
exactly.
like
Exactly. But yeah, Drew just kind of sings his praises, and Edge, like I just said, kind of turns to him and goes like, "Dude, you got a target on your back."
he
Like,
literally says, "What's wrong with you?"
yeah.
Like, yeah,
Um
which I loved because I was like, "That's perfect. This is the way Edge always is. He's not face, but he's not heel. If you like him, you love him. If you hate
he's
him, you hate him."
he's the ultimate opportunist.
Exactly, and he even points that out, saying, "I'm not going to make my decision yet. I'm going to assess,
Oh yeah.
and then you'll know."
Yeah,
And then just kind of leaves.
like I always hate when the
Or I
decision's
guess he
made
doesn't leave
right
yet.
away or stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um but then Sheamus comes out,
yeah.
which I'm sitting there kind of a little confused for a second because I'm like, I know we've had like the Drew and Sheamus stuff, but I'm like, what's he got to do with the segment?
And I don't understand what he's been wearing recently.
It's interesting. It's something else.
I think it's something to do with like his Scottish roots or
Irish,
whatever. Irish? So why
Irish.
did I? Oh, because Drew is why I thought Scottish. Sorry. So similar in accent too. In all honesty,
They're
like
basically right beside each other almost, if I'm not mistaken, in
yeah.
map sense. I might be really wrong. I don't really know the
But
geography of,
I
of the
know
of
I know
Europe.
calling an Irishman a Scotsman pisses them off. So I apologize, Seamus.
Um, but yeah, he comes out, and I enjoy Edge continuing to like look back at Sheamus, and even Sheamus being like, "What you looking at me for?" Like,
Yeah.
um,
Just because he doesn't really know what Sheamus is about to do, because I'm pretty sure Edge and Sheamus have a history over uh the spinner belt.
I don't I don't actually know because that was on Raw at the time, and that was 2010. Edge was on SmackDown because that was right before he
The
finished.
brand split
Uh,
didn't matter.
so I'm not 100% sure there, but
I thought they had a feud at one point, but who knows?
anyways, Edge, yeah, says he'll assess the situation, and he'll know when he makes when he makes his decision.
He being Drew.
Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
um,
Just for anybody who was confused.
I was even confused for a second. But
Yeah.
so Edge leaves, and
And he just kind of rolls out of the ring, and I think he even kind of like does his like backwards walk up the ramp for a little bit, and then like how he normally did back in the day, how he just kind of look at them as he's walking up the ramp. I
yeah,
think he was the only person that would really do that. So
yeah, always keep your eyes on
yeah,
him
he
type deal.
always made sure to walk, and then as soon as he was at like the entrance, he'd turn. But like
But
I don't know, I just love Edge. So
and then we end up having Drew turn around and walking right into a big bro kick from Sheamus.
big
Um,
one, and like I thought it actually took Drew's head off.
like it was nice. It connected beautifully. Um,
Yeah.
and Sheamus heads off with Drew laying in the ring, looking just kind of baffled.
Yeah,
Um,
and says that Drew is no longer his friend and he wants the WWE title.
I enjoy that accent. And then
I
yeah,
do
we
too.
get a backstage interview with him stating that. And then we go into this segment, this match, which I don't I don't have much nice to say about it, if I'm being honest.
This is one of
Um,
the ones that I wish was longer
and
and went the other way.
actually like did something regarding what they're trying to build to. But we
I
get
hope that this is the fight pit that we're building to.
oh, I'd
Like
like it. Yep.
we if Lashley doing that gives us the fight pit, I'm fine with it, but right now, go ahead and explain why we don't like this.
Yeah, so Bobby Lashley versus Riddle for the title. The match doesn't go overly long, and at one point Lashley locks in, what are they calling it, the hurt lock, I think it
The
is.
hurt lock, yeah.
Riddle is on the apron side of the ropes and he has it locked in. The ref calls for the DQ and he keeps holding it, keeps holding it, keeps holding it, tosses him down, gets out, and just relocks it again,
Yeah.
tossing him all over, walking around, and he ends up bringing him over to the barricade that hard cam always sits on, and just chucks him over and walks away.
Yeah.
Like it just, I was like, why did we go through all this gauntlet match shit and everything the past few weeks for this?
Well, I hope it's not done, because if it is done, that is stupid, and this just makes Riddle look like a chump, in all honesty, for not bringing somebody else out to help him, knowing Bobby Lashley didn't have the entire hurt business, but the fact that Bobby Lashley is who he is should have been precedent enough to warrant bringing out somebody,
Yeah,
because MVP was there, but he was on commentary. So
yeah. Well, we had MVP when they were on the outside after the DQ, kind of telling Lashley to stop. And then once he finally did, he just kind of stood there and smirked. And I was like,
yeah, and then I can't remember where I heard this. It was probably later in the show. MVP was asked why he looked like that, and he's like, "Well, because Bobby's never shown this side, and I've been asking him to show Lashley's side, and he finally is."
yeah.
And I was like, I mean, cool. I'm pretty sure that was later in the show that he says this, but
It probably is. I'll probably run into it in my notes here.
hmm.
But
But
we
yeah,
we go from that to a backstage, and a vehicle is pulling up.
a
Really,
Bugatti Chiron.
really, really nice Bugatti there. And I was actually like, oh, what are we
I was
getting here?
I was like, big return, and I was like, "Oh, is it Batista?" I was like, "No, he's in Australia filming for Thor: Love and Thunder." So he's definitely not Batista. Who is this guy? And
Uh,
it does the Andre Pan feet all the way up, and it's Bad Bunny.
I the second it got like waist level, I was like, it's the fucking artist from last night, isn't it? Or from yeah, from last night, because I guess it would have
Yeah,
been Monday. So yeah, it's Bad Bunny, and I'm like, why? We go to commercial, and when we come back, we've actually got cameras still on the other side of the barricade, and Riddle is just fucked.
yeah, he didn't know who he was fighting, and once they tell him it was Lashley, he kind of like gets ready to fight again, and he just doesn't know where he is.
So I'm wondering, like, that kind of made me go like, where are we gonna go with this now?
Hmm.
Because I really didn't know the end of their segment, because it just kind of seemed like a waste, and it's still not clear what we're getting, but
I really hope next Monday is kind not centered around the US title, but there is a big story development for it. So that way we
oh,
see, like, even if
agreed.
it's just a steel cage match, just give us something that is not that'll give Lashley the ability to DQ himself against Riddle, because he's clearly scared of what Riddle can do if he's got the ability to run around like Riddle can.
I honestly think it's going to be the point where we're going to get the match, and it's if Lashley gets himself DQ'd or the Hurt Business gets involved, Lashley loses the title.
Yeah, but I kind of hate that stipulation, because we have matches that have that rule already. Steel cage, Hell in a Cell, those matches already exist. They keep people out for a reason.
But they don't. Literally Reigns and Owens a few weeks
Yes,
ago.
They're
They don't.
supposed to keep everybody out.
But see, that's my
But
thing. If we just do one of those matches like you're saying, we know the finish we're going to get because we literally just got it. So, in a sense like this, because I'm not a huge fan of the if this happens, they lose the belt. But what they're building towards, it seems like it's going to work because it's either the Hurt Business getting involved or Lashley's just throwing away the match. So, what better way to actually give us a match than them telling Lashley, like,
yeah.
you're on your own, and if you throw this away, you literally are throwing away your title. So actually do what you're kind of paid to do, be a wrestler and have a match. Don't let any of your goons get involved. And
Yeah,
like
I guess, but
I think
I
it
don't
might
know.
work.
There's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts about this segment that have to be nailed down within the next, say, 2-3 weeks, building towards the next pay per view. And if they nail it, great. If they don't, I don't see what the point of this at all was.
Oh, exactly. Um but yeah, and then we get a Randy Orton promo. Uh
Just says Edge isn't going to be main eventing WrestleMania, pretty much, is the long and the short of it.
Yeah, I'm like I don't even know like what I need to say about it, but that's yeah.
Yeah, he
Um,
literally is just like, I'm gonna kill Edge. That's if you wanted to put it into TLDR, I'm gonna kill Edge is
yeah.
pretty much what he was gonna say. Like,
And then we get Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston in
they're not wearing their
Thrilla.
Brody gear, and I was kind of disappointed about that.
Well, it's because it's up for auction,
So it's
for
already up
charity.
for
Oh
auction.
yeah,
I thought they were just gonna be doing it at some point.
no, it's already up. It's already up
Okay,
and
that
whatnot.
makes sense then.
Um,
Okay, I was just like, oh, normally they wear the stuff twice, right? Normally it's for the event and then they do it the show after.
yeah.
But that makes a little more sense.
Um, but yeah, and then we end up we have Mustafa Ali versus Xavier Woods. And we actually see physicality from Kofi
A little
um
bit, yeah.
at one point. So I'm wondering his full status.
So he's
Um
clear. So in hockey terms, when they're allowed to come back to the ice to practice, they're put in like an orange penny, and it basically means they're a no contact person. But they can do certain like rub out plays and stuff like that. So I imagine that's basically the clear Kofi's been given of you can do some things, but you're not cleared for a match.
yeah. No, that's completely fair cuz I mean it was just it was a little kind of dive and the retribution guys protected him really well on the fall. Like you could
Exactly.
tell there was an extra level of like making sure he was good.
Yeah, for sure. And that's
Um
just it makes perfect sense because we don't want to see Kofi get hurt again. I'd love to see him back in the world title picture. I know it kind of was rushed in when he first did it, but I loved it the first time. I'll love it the second time, WWE. Please just give us more Kofi in singles competition, honestly. He's a
yeah,
good tag fighter, but I love him in a singles match too.
I totally would not be upset if at one point, and it doesn't even have to be splitting up the New Day as a whole, but I'd have no issue if we see Kofi against Big E at a Mania or something.
Well, Inner Circle has proven that these matches can happen and the team doesn't have to break up.
Exactly. Like it
So
doesn't have to
say,
be a matter of we hate each other, that's why we're fighting. It can be out of mutual respect for each other and
or
just
even, sorry, you continue there.
I was just going to say even if we're putting a title in the picture, like it doesn't have to mean anything as to them breaking up. It's just as easy at hell have Kofi at some point pick up the world championship over the next year and give Big E the men's rumble next year.
Sure.
Like
I was even just going to say, for if you wanted to pull the trigger on it this Mania, have Big E keep the Intercontinental title until Mania, and then have Kofi just come up and be like, hey, man, I used to have that title when I was around your age in the WWE. Do you mind giving me a shot for it?
yeah,
Like, doesn't have to be the world title, even. Like,
I'd kill to see them go for the world title though.
oh, it'd be great. And you know that everybody would absolutely adore it because, I mean, you get the certain people pushing it as a Black Lives Matter movement and whatever, which is fine, but it'd be a good match. It doesn't even have to be looked at as a political move because in my opinion it wouldn't be.
Well, no, that's just it. You're gonna have the people who are gonna point out certain. It's the same people. Like let's be 100% honest. It's the same people pointing out with Willie Mack, Moose, and Rich Swann in Impact right now.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be, in a sense, political that way. It can just be
exactly.
really good competitors
Exactly.
getting the shot they deserve.
The
Because I
only reason
know,
I say it is because people will mention it.
well, there was a lot of it when Kofi won the title. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. There was a lot of people going, "Oh, it was because of this." No, it's because Kofi Kingston deserved a world championship. Kofi Kingston
And
could have been a white guy. He deserved
yeah,
the championship.
the story was 11 years in the making.
Yeah.
It was he at one point he was booked for world title matches, but Orton politicked him and sent him back down to the mid card. And like we even got conclusions to that story because Kofi had to fight Orton before he was able to fight for the world title. Like there were just so many great moments that I wasn't even thinking of, oh, well, it's because Kofi's this or whatever. WWE's trying to make them look this or whatever, like it was it was good booking. And
Oh
that's all
yeah.
I want from WWE again. That's what I'm trying to say is book it good, WWE.
Yeah. But but yeah, we had a pretty decent match between Xavier Woods and Mustafa Ali.
Yeah.
Xavier Woods picking up the win there. Which little note, Raw talk again. Xavier challenged Reckoning.
Oh, I saw that there was a tease for a an intergender match for Woods. I mean, do it. Why not? I know she's currently got COVID, but that's probably done by the end of next week. So let's do
Literally,
it.
literally some of the best matches on the indies back a few years ago were intergender matches with Mia Yim.
Yeah.
I honestly believe it was Matt
Well,
Riddle versus Mia Yim at Smash Wrestling. We've mentioned Smash a bunch now. Ontario indie promotion.
we will
Um
likely mention it again if we ever go see it. We might even do podcasts about it.
oh hell yeah.
Like,
But but yeah, like I have no issue with it. I mean, we just saw Sasha and Reginald, and it was kind of toned down a bit, which once again I can understand. We talked about how hard it is to sell something like that on a large scale, but
yeah.
yeah, so
But I mean, like you said, she's been in that position before already, and Woods wouldn't be completely out of question. No offense to him, size wise, to wrestle a woman if
exactly.
WWE was worried about that.
Yeah, it's not putting
So
Big E against her.
exactly, it's Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, the smallest member of even comparing him to Kofi Kingston. Like
Yeah.
it's just I'd say do it, book it.
And then we get just a quick little backstage view of Bad Bunny and Damian Priest, which kind of spoiled the next segment I found, because then they were like, up next, Bad Bunny's on Miz TV. I'm like, okay, so we're getting either Miz or Morrison against Damian Priest. Thanks.
I thought we were gonna get a tag match with Bad Bunny in the match, and I was like, "Are we really doing this?" Like,
Ew. Um.
yeah. But I mean, the Miz TV segment before Bad Bunny got out there was good because it
Yep.
was just Miz and Morrison doing their correct,
Yep.
and
Uh. But yeah, like
they do no wrong.
the Miz TV segment ends up just being Bad Bunny coming out. They apologized to him for last night at the Rumble, and then they want an apology back.
Which I mean is kind of fair because Bad Bunny did cost them their spot in the Rumble, but in all fairness, apologizing versus paying for some DJ equipment you broke is a little different.
Oh, exactly. Like a little, like very different. Like, oh, that's like your, $750,000 car. Sorry, I crashed it.
Yeah. Oh, but can you apologize for not giving me a bandage for the cut I got from your car.
Yeah.
Like,
Big difference, big difference. But we end up having Damian Priest come out, and he takes out the
just decks the
Miz.
Miz.
Yeah, big time. Uh, which leads us to Damian Priest versus the Miz.
Which
Um,
this was a good match.
really good match, and the thing is, I totally didn't mind Bad Bunny getting involved at the end here.
Yeah,
I
this one
wasn't.
it
I
kind of made a bit more sense.
exactly. Miz is going for the Money in the Bank briefcase. And Bad Bunny gets up. He's sitting by commentary. And he gets up and basically moves it. Morrison comes around and he gets a really clean shot on Morrison with the microphone, which ends up
Yeah.
actually having noise in the arena too, which
So
was
it was
really
clearly a
nice.
good one. It was clearly a real pop with the mic. He actually popped Morrison with it.
Yeah. Um, and then we have Damian Priest picking up the win.
I didn't realize his finishing move was called the Reckoning. Um, and I have a feeling that because Mia Yim is calling herself Reckoning, uh, that's going to change with him on the main roster.
I was not aware that that's.
When he hit it, Tom Phillips goes the Reckoning, and then he gets the pin, and I'm like, okay.
Oh,
So if he just said the Reckoning for no reason, I apologize, but that was my interpretation of him saying that.
his finisher is called the Reckoning.
Yeah,
Yep,
I can imagine him getting that changed now that he's on the main roster
more than likely.
because Yim is there, which is unfortunate because I don't think people will get confused with a move versus a person, but whatever.
Hey, I'm sure WWE will think otherwise, but
Yeah, well,
and then up next after that we had Hurt Business, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, the Raw Tag Team Champions, against Lucha House Party for the tag championships, which I heard them say that there was two title matches on Raw, but for some reason I never heard what the second one was
they didn't
besides.
say.
Okay, so I didn't just completely miss it. Thank
Yeah.
God.
They didn't say who it was, so I immediately assumed it was going to be either Asuka or the women's tag championship. And when it was Hurt Business, I was like, okay, why didn't we just back to back these two? Have Hurt Business come out together and have Riddle come out with Lucha House Party
Yeah.
and do back to back these matches? Have Riddle backing Lucha House Party and Lucha House Party backing Riddle.
Yeah.
But whatever.
And speaking of the women's tag titles, which we'll get into here in a second anyways, but we got the same package 3 times last night,
So I
recapping
didn't
the
have a
pre-show.
stroke.
Like the same package 3 times, recapping the pre-show, the
Okay.
the women's tag match. But anyways,
I thought so because
yeah,
I watched. I was like, I swear I've seen this already. And then
yeah,
they said
like
it again. I was
twice.
like, hey.
But yeah, the tag team match, really solid tag team match. Once again, you're talking four really good performers. There was a
Yeah.
few near botches that almost happened that were very scary. At one point, I don't know who it was, jumped out to, I believe it was Shelton Benjamin, and Benjamin stumbles and almost dead ass drops them on their head.
Yeah.
I think it was Lince Dorado, and then Grand Metalik flew through the ropes uh and hit them.
I remember I wrote it in because somebody like face planted when they went for a tope,
Yeah.
and now I can't see it.
And then I know there was a few in the ring as well that I kind of, I think it was like a Hurricane Rana or something. Something was gone for and almost just landed dead ass on their head. So um
Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there because these luchadors generally don't have this issue.
but I mean minus that, solid match.
Oh, it was definitely the Metalik with his senton that he hit. He got very close to almost clipping his head as he came down.
Okay.
I remember that for one. He just rotated a little too late, and I was like,
Yeah. But and
there were a couple good near falls too.
at the very end they pulled exactly what I've been hating continually.
Mm,
They pulled it
yeah.
again. Um with I believe it was Shelton tagging himself in.
Yep, it was.
Um
So Cedric's setting up for whatever his big move is in the corner, and Shelton just, and then he hits. They called it the pager, which I'm assuming is what they call Shelton's finisher right now.
okay, sure.
I'm assuming they changed it when he joined Hurt Business to make it sound more like a business thing. I have no idea.
I'm not
Um,
sure myself.
but they said he hits the pager and gets the pin. So I was like, okay, cool.
So Hurt Business retains.
Which there was a couple points in time where Lucha House Party looked like they were gonna win.
Yeah. Well, they keep giving Lucha House Party good showings. So
Well, Metalik, this is his second title shot in 2 weeks. He had a cruiserweight title shot, or was going to have a cruiserweight title shot or something, and then didn't. But I remember when we were watching NXT, they were talking about it on 205 Live that he was this week. Metalik was going for the cruiserweight title. I was like, oh wow! And then he has this match too, and I'm like,
oh,
okay,
okay, nice.
like. So maybe they're pushing the Lucha House Party a little bit more,
Sure, why
which I
not?
mean could be, again, like we say, contracts are coming up.
Exactly. And then up next we have a match that I was not a huge fan of. It was number one contenders match for the women's tag team championships. Asuka and Charlotte versus Naomi and Lana versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. I don't know why we had Naomi and Lana together. Uh,
Yeah, they're like, and Naomi and Lana, and I was like, what?
why? Why? And
But it gets better.
also though,
Uh,
why do we keep having these matches on Raw? Like we've got a legitimate tag team on SmackDown. We've got the Riot Squad. Like, let's not overlook.
yeah, but they're on SmackDown. That's the B show, bro. And what are you talking about? We had the tag title match, we had the tag champions on SmackDown last week. They're besties. Or oh wait, they lost them.
But yeah, and before this match actually we have Asuka and Charlotte having a promo in Gorilla. And Asuka, I don't know, just seemed annoyed at how they lost the belts.
She was very passive aggressive with what she
Yes.
was saying to Charlotte. She was like, "Oh, well, I mean, if wasn't for old man, we'd still have titles."
Yeah, like it
And
was
I
very
say it like that
passive
because that's
aggressive.
exactly how she said it.
Oh, yes, it is. It is.
Like,
Um like so but we end up getting this match, and the first little bit of it's really messy with tag-ins and stuff. Like, it got really
yeah.
confusing really quick. And then
There was one point where Oscar literally wasn't tagged,
came in and suddenly became the legal person.
and the ref was just like, "Tag."
There was nobody over there.
I was like, "What?"
Cause I messaged you and I was like, did Asuka ever get tagged in? Like,
I
did
don't
I
think
maybe just
so.
miss it?
No,
But
because right as that happened, like we were explaining, it was either Mandy or Dana was beating on Lana. And then all of a sudden Asuka came in and starts beating on Lana. And it's like, what?
yep, okay, sure. Um, and then at one point, Rick and Lacey come out, and Charlotte just walks off.
Tags Asuka and Asuka looks at her like, what? And then just walks off.
Which ends up leading into the finish, with Naomi and Lana winning.
With the rear view. Which no offense to Naomi, that move isn't very effective.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, apparently Naomi and Lana are number one contenders for the tag tag titles, women's tag titles.
Yeah.
Um, and then we have an interview with Drew McIntyre, um, where the short of it is he basically tells Sheamus if he wants a shot, he's got it.
It looked like for a moment Drew totally forgot what he was supposed to say because he's like, I don't know what to say. And then all of a sudden he goes, oh, I got him. Like, you just forgot and you were buying time, weren't you?
Nothing will that happens. Nothing will be
It
as bad
does.
as Reigns and Cena though, and Cena dead ass calling Reigns out like if you
It's
want to be
called a promo.
it's called a promo, kid. You know, if you want to be a star, you got to remember your lines. Get it together.
Yeah, like, no, and I had to poke fun at that just because he literally sits there and he's like, I don't know. And then it just sits there and he's like, oh, no, I got it. I'm like, oh, okay.
And yeah, if you ever want to see a really good war of words, Cena and Reigns, what would that have been? 2017, 2016.
Around there, yeah.
Go and check it
When,
out. Like
yeah.
they have the full thing on YouTube. It's worth it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that gives us the suffering succotash promo too, doesn't it? From Reigns.
uh, I'm not sure.
I don't know if that's in that one, but I know he says it at some point, and that was the worst promo ever.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, and then we get a really this brought childhood back to me. Jeff Hardy and Carlito versus
Not the first time
Elias.
they've teamed either.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Against Elias and Jackson Riker. It felt so weird to be sitting in 2021 and seeing Jeff Hardy and Carlito in the same ring. I'm like, oh my god, like 2006 just came back to me.
I all that needed to happen was the Oval Intercontinental title needed to be on one of those two guys, and it was 2008 all over again, 2006, like you're
Yeah,
saying, like,
give us Johnny Nitro and Umaga again, and like
yeah.
we've got
Oh man, it was, and like this match as well with the way Elias was fighting brought back a couple nods to some wrestlers I never thought I'd see. Elias, he goes for a headbutt and he lines it up the same way Benoit did. And I was scared when he did that because I never thought I'd see that move again set up the exact same way. Because he literally goes up and he has his arms and then he puts them up like that and then drops down. It
I
was
think
the
that was
exact.
Riker actually. I'm pretty
I
sure that was
haven't.
Riker.
Oh, it was Riker. Sorry, I had Elias is in control now and tags in Riker, who goes up to the middle rope. I just
Yeah.
saw
Oh
Elias.
yeah,
So
I saw the headbutt and I was like, oh
yeah, and it was definitely a nod to Benoit. There was no way
yeah.
around it because the
The
way he did
only
it.
the only difference is Benoit would go from the top and get a really good
Yes.
dive, where Riker just kind of fell. But the setup, like you said, I was like, I have not seen like a headbutt setup like that from like my knowledge at least. Maybe it has and I've just really missed it, but like I
The
haven't
only
caught something like
close
that in a
one,
while.
the only close one was Brian, and he would do the yes into it, and that's about it. But that's
Yeah.
his own thing.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's weird that we've now brought Benoit up twice, and not that we want to bring up
that's
a
why I
whole
had
lot.
to. Like,
Um, but it's really funny because yesterday, just a really quick side note, personal tangent. Uh, Working out, I've been watching old WrestleManias, and I just got around to Mania 23, which was my first ever live WrestleMania that I watched. Um, and I forgot how good wrestling was back then, by the way. But I watched Chris Benoit versus MVP for the United States Championship, and wow, it's been a long time since I've watched a Chris Benoit match.
yeah.
It was
And
weird.
they hit different now.
They
Like,
they do they you watch them and you enjoy them, but at the same time you sit there and find yourself like I don't even know if you like kind of question whether you should enjoy them as much as you are.
I'm
And
not questioning if I should enjoy them. I'm questioning what might have been. That's what I find I'm doing during Benoit matches. I'll sit there and I'll be like, "Man,
And I
if
find
he
that they
if
say certain things on commentary that, looking back on it, I'm like, ooh, like obviously at the time nobody knew, but now you're sitting here and you're like, that's kind of poor taste now. Like there was a
yeah,
few comments
exactly."
on Mania on commentary that I was like,
Right? Like,
okay.
and I know exactly what you mean. Like, it is really weird to sit there, but for me, I can't help but think, what if WWE had a head injury protocol already in
Yeah, like
place?
what if it was another sport that discovered that these concussions were this big of a deal?
Yeah, like,
And like
and
would this, like would we still potentially be seeing Chris Benoit in some aspect? He probably would no longer be competing.
he might be in the same vein that we'd be having Edge and like Christian at this point, but he might be an 8 or 9 time world heavyweight champion.
Yeah,
The
it's
the
crazy to
WWE's
think.
landscape would be totally different too.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is even just the opening match is the Money in the Bank ladder match, and one of the shots, they have the step ladder because at that point it was Little Bastard Hornswoggle,
Yeah,
and I want to say it was Edge or Orton takes the ladder and CM Punk standing there, and they chuck it at Punk's head. And I saw that, and like it shows how much times have changed and how much we've actually grown and learned, because I saw that and I like winced because I'm like, I haven't seen, like, because I don't watch old stuff back as much as I used to, and now
no,
doing this I'm
exactly.
enjoying doing it. But like that shot hits and I'm like, oh my god. But that was like Sean Spears and Cody, the chair
Mhm.
shot to the head. When I saw that, I'm like, I have not seen something like that in ages.
Yeah,
Ages.
and we've
um
not seen it again since really in the same line, and it's almost like AEW took the chair shot going bad as a bad omen and said, "No, this
Well,
is this
that's the
is it."
thing. There's actually an interview, and we'll get back to Raw here and finish it up because we're right near
For
the
sure.
end.
Yeah.
That there's an interview with Cody, and Cody actually says he wanted to bring chair shots to the head back for the boys. Basically, is what he said, and that was their test. And when it went badly, it was like, okay, so maybe we aren't bringing chair shots to the head back.
And I
Got it.
mean, we might see it every once in a while if the story is right with AEW,
We've
but
definitely
it'll only
gotten
be
some good shots to the head in certain ways, but we're
yeah,
definitely not gonna get, because the thing is you can compare Spears and Cody in that moment, similar to, we've mentioned it already, Rock and Mankind, like full swing, really
yeah,
good connections, stuff like that. So, but the thing is, we don't need that stuff nowadays anymore, especially
no,
with the knowledge we have. I'd rather see these guys live well into their 60s, 70s, and whatnot, and be healthy and everything else, and not have headshots, versus seeing these guys
yeah.
end up in the same light as somebody like a Benoit or shit like that. So,
Well, yeah, and I mean, you think about that, and the people who didn't do these matches, your Flairs, your Hogans, they're still around
exactly,
as something.
exactly.
Like,
It's a big show of how times changed and how they've changed again, and yeah.
and yeah, people might say, well, now it's this flippy shit. Well, I would much rather have flippy shit than people being concussed and potentially doing, we'll put it this way, illegal things. I'm not going to say exactly what Chris Benoit did, but if you know, you know.
Exactly, exactly. Um, but yeah, back to the Raw results though. We were talking about Jeff Hardy and Carlito versus Elias and Jackson Riker. Really good match. Carlito in amazing physical shape. Holy
Oh,
crap.
he better than even his original debut.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine Vince is sitting back there like, oh, we need to sign this man.
Oh, well, that's just it. I wouldn't be surprised. This is definitely not like the one-off type deal, more than likely.
And looking at his physical condition, he is ready to be on a full time wrestling schedule again.
Oh, he looks it. He looks it for sure.
That's exactly it. We don't know
So,
if that's all show no go, but when he was in this match, he looked like he was all go.
Yeah.
Like,
But Hardy and Carlito actually pick up the win, backstabber into Swanton, which was really cool.
yeah. And then they had a nice little interview talking about the history and of this match. Not on Raw. This was on a backstage segment, I think, or something like that. They were just quickly interviewed, and they were like, "Oh, it's great to have my main man Hardy here and Carlito back in the ring." And it was something neat because they're like, "We're two old guys get doing our thing back in 2000 in 2021," and
Yeah.
it's just like it's something you'd never thought you'd see.
Oh, exactly. And
So
then we get a video package recapping Edge's retirement, return, and then him and Orton. Um, and then we get a promo with Edge
there
backstage. Sorry.
Yeah, and well, actually, sorry, I didn't know if you were gonna go into the promo about him going backstage there, but yeah, that's exactly what I was just gonna say. He talks about like he needs to just get back this title that he never lost, and you
He,
know,
he talks about the cloud that's hanging over him and his
yeah,
family, and that cloud being Randy Orton, and he needs to put Orton in the rearview mirror.
yeah. And
Um,
then just before we get our singles match here, we see Edge quickly talking to Damian Priest backstage.
we get if you know the Taker Cena
Yes, yeah.
handshake, the old generation to the new generation is basically what we get, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, and I really hope Priest is the next big thing for WWE.
Oh,
He
he's
is
talented as hell, so
exactly. I wouldn't mind to see him pushed up to the main title picture here really quickly. Even if you want to put him in against Lashley or whoever the US champion is whenever they want to do that
yep.
to give him something else before a world title, sure. I want to see him with a belt around his waist cuz he just looks like that type of guy who can dominate.
Yep. Oh, 100%. Um and then we
And
get
yeah, that handshake reference you were talking about was Cena Taker, right?
yep. Yeah, after I believe it was after Cena's debut against Kurt.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Because Taker had
Undisputed.
the undisputed championship.
Yeah. And then we get singles match, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, which, like I said, I'm enjoying this stuff. Uh, I'm, uh, uh, Alexa, stop. Okay, that was lovely. Sorry about that, everybody listening or watching. That was cool. Apparently, I cannot say that. So, Bliss, um, you're gonna have to take these segments now, I guess.
I
We
guess.
I'm really upset because I'm realizing we're getting closer and closer to fans. And like that sounds weird, but that means we're gonna get less and less for what they've been doing for Bliss and the Fiend and stuff like that. And I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, but I don't think we're gonna completely do away with it. Think we're gonna stop seeing it so much in the arena, which is unfortunate. But
Cause it's really working.
I think we're gonna start seeing more similarities to what like Taker would do, where they're gonna start manipulating the arena, like lightning shots, fire coming up, lights going out, shit like that. So
Yeah.
we're gonna get back into that, but then the fun house is gonna be all this stuff that WWE has figured out how that they're allowed to do and that we like.
Yeah.
And so the funhouse is going to evolve, and there's going to be these funhouse matches. I think on the monthly, we're going to just have a Firefly Funhouse match, either the female fiend or male fiend, however you
Yeah.
want to do it.
The thing is I'm really enjoying it, and I know there's people shit on everything. There's people that like it and people shit on everything. But like I said, the character it works. It's pro wrestling. We're allowed to be wacky and crazy. And the Fiend and Bliss stuff, I am absolutely because you couldn't have picked anybody better to put in Bliss's place than
Yeah.
her. Like
Oh, for sure.
it's working so well. I have no issue because the thing is this is the first kind of wacky out there storyline we've had in a long time, and the whole point is that she came in contact with the Fiend and everything changed, and
But her contact was different than everybody else's. They were very specific about that. Like, it was a different type of contact. Like they didn't fight. They were communicating almost.
Yeah, so I'm loving it. But we get Bliss and Cross, and they keep
Yeah.
referencing about Nikki Cross was finally over her because you got to remember, like, we are talking former women's tag team champions, which I forgot, honestly, because I've been enjoying this so much. Um,
Yeah.
and at one point in the match, we get the Goddess character again,
Mhm.
um, which Nikki Cross kind of has a moment, um, and really good on Nikki Cross, like the facial expression during all this. Um,
Yeah. Like, and there were some really cool bits, like, Bliss is really teasing into that, kids TV show character. Like, she'll hit a move, and then she'll jump up and down and clap her hands, and
which I really liked, or
yeah.
the
Yeah,
hopscotch moment.
that
I'm
was
like,
great.
that was really, because the thing is people are bitching about it because, like, you're talking pro wrestling, but I've said it and I'm going to say it a million times through this podcast. I mean, we're only 7 episodes in. You have entertainment within pro wrestling. This is where that line is. This is the
Yeah.
entertainment side of it. And the thing is, it works. It
Yeah,
works
well,
so damn well because
it
of the
so does.
character.
Yeah.
Like, we know what this character is supposed to be. And, like, when she did the hopscotch and, like, at the end, she kind of, like, wobbles a little bit before. I'm like,
It's perfect. Like,
dude.
you can't look at this character either and say it's not a dominant character either, because every move she hits is vicious. Like,
Yeah.
she missed a kick on Nikki, but then just all of a sudden does this double drop kick right to her face and just stands up and starts cheering.
Like,
Like,
it was like, as a match, it was good, and as the entertainment side of it, it was good. And I really liked the modification to the Sister Abigail as she went for it into kind of a modified twisted DDT, basically.
yeah, I don't even know how else you could call it. Like, it's kind of like, so she turns it to almost the way a crossroads is set up, but in reverse, basically, because the crossroads has the person's head under the armpit,
Yeah, has them
and so
locked. Yeah.
she just reaches around and does the Sister Abigail and drives them. I guess back of the head first would be how they land,
No,
because
it'd still be the face, because the thing is, it was just
yeah,
because she's laying in the Sister Abigail, which is
yeah,
to the
so face
face,
up,
and
yeah.
then she just locks it for the DDT. But it was very, very nice.
And the
Um,
commentators made a good point of specifying that was Sister Abigail, but it was Bliss's Sister Abigail.
and then we go in, like, we transition right away to Orton
Yes.
coming out, and if looks could frickin' kill, oh my god, when they pass on the entrance ramp, Orton not making contact, like, at all, and Bliss
Yeah.
just staring a frickin' hole through him was
Ugh,
amazing.
yeah.
And then we get, which I was just baffled by, we get Randy Orton versus Edge free on
Yeah.
Raw in 2021. Yes, fucking please.
This was a match we would get for main events, for title matches for the WWE Championship way back when. Like, and it was exactly that match right up until the end.
Like, and I got to give credit to Edge. He sold it so well. I was on Twitter afterwards and I saw a lot of people complaining like Edge looked so weak in it. I'm like, did none of you watch him for an hour in the Rumble last night?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Edge looked weak in that match. That's what people were saying.
Yeah, because he was so winded and so tired, and this and that. I'm like, guys, first off, he didn't look weak. He had a perfect showing, and the moments where he was in that kind of state, because there was moments where it was purposefully
Yeah.
made to look like that, is because it's the same reason he was limping in the opening segment of the
Yeah.
show. He wrestled for 58 fucking minutes in the Royal Rumble and won it. He's
That
allowed
limp
to
was
be
like
tired.
real. the limp was likely real.
Like,
Like,
imagine putting yourself in that situation. Take wrestling, take the idea of it being, I hate the word, but fake, and imagine a real fight like that for 58 minutes. 24 hours later, you think you're going to be skipping
yeah,
around all happy go lucky?
yeah.
I'm sorry. I wouldn't be.
Not even somebody when Ray did that back when he was in his 30s, I'd say he did it. One to or not one, but two
Two
to
two to win, and it was an hour and 2 minutes.
yeah, Ray wasn't on the next show. He was that might have been because he was on SmackDown at the time, but either way, he still didn't look like a
Even come
beast.
SmackDown,
Like,
they made points that year of
yeah.
being like, he's still feeling the effects.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Most of the time, the winner of the Rumble does not have a strong next week because they're so exhausted from winning the frickin' Rumble.
Like, it'd be like doing like the most intense workout possible, and then coming out like the next day, and acting like you feel perfect. Like,
The only person I could see doing it is The Rock. I guess Cena too, because on the same line, they're both jacked to the tits.
even
So,
then, I'm sure, like, still feeling the effects in some way.
but I would say less so and more willing, more ready to go into a match where they might not show some effects. Is what I was
Yeah.
trying to say.
But we get an absolutely amazing match. Um
And the finish doesn't take away from it at all.
Not one bit. Not one bit, because it
No,
progresses one story while finishing off another. Um
exactly.
Orton looks at the corner and Bliss is sitting on the ring post, and I'm like, "Oh, oh," and the blood just starts running from her
Well,
mouth.
it wasn't blood; it was black.
They were claiming on even on WWE that it was blood.
It was
Oh,
black.
I know it was. But
So whose blood is it? Because unless she's dealt with venom recently, I don't think anybody bleeds black.
well, it
We'll see. I mean,
the thing is, you got to remember lighting and whatnot too. I mean, she
true.
had a
I guess
purple
the
light, which
lights.
was really dark still.
She had that kind of tinge on top of her when because they played her like funhouse kind of broken music, and then it had I don't know what color it was tinged, but to me it looked black. But I guess maybe it was
Like, it,
lighting
it
and
looked
camera work
black,
and
but the
whatever.
thing is even if it was, sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I just when you said blood, I was like, I don't think it was blood,
well,
but
that's what they're claiming.
I
So
hadn't
that's
seen
just
that,
what I'm
so
going with.
for sure.
Um, so take that as you will.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're not claiming we're perfect here. We just
like,
we review the news and we talk about it the way we interpret it.
exactly, like, if I'm at the end here. Okay, so on WWE's results, because I was going off of, like, even like the official Twitter pages and that were
Right.
saying blood. On WWE's, it says strange black substance oozing from her mouth.
Okay.
Um,
So we'll call it blood slash sticky black goo.
yeah. But she's sitting there. That happens, and Orton turns, takes a spear, and Edge wins, and Bliss is gone, which almost makes me wonder if they're going to play into the fact of maybe she wasn't even physically there, and it's even a mental thing with Orton. They're
But then
finally
why do the commentators comment on it? Because that like your point works right up until Saxton and Phillips all going, "What's coming out of her mouth?"
I
And then
guess.
literally commenting saying Bliss is gone. So I mean, unless say Edge is like, I never saw Bliss. What are the commentators going crazy too? Like, unless we start to say the commentators are getting affected by Bliss, I don't know how we can do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, we
Well,
could
because the thing
honestly just do
is
that.
like the whole idea of like the fun house is it's all in Ray's mind. Like,
Right.
none of it's technically physically real. When they did the stuff with Cena, it was all psychological. Like
Cena's still
the
trapped there if you want to get technical.
yeah, like the story point of it is it's not a physical place almost,
Yeah.
even when people get there. Like it's, you know, um, but yeah, like awesome end, and the show finishes out there with Edge winning, and uh, yeah,
With
I
a
don't
good
think.
spear, I mean,
Oh god.
folds Orton in half. Like,
God, I don't think anybody hits that spear better. Sorry, Reigns, Goldberg, anybody else who wants to try and say
Goldberg's is a
anything.
shoulder block.
Pretty well. Edge's spear has always looked fantastic.
Because he wraps around them and throws his whole body at. Like, the way he delivers it is
Yeah.
just, it's like Brody Lee with the discus clothesline.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like, you can't describe it until you watch it happen in replay over and over, and then you're like, oh, that's why it looks the way it does.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, so with us finishing off the show there, we will
Yeah.
give our rating for the show out of 5. So what'd you give?
I gave it a 3.25 tonight. Like, it was a good show. And definitely the best Raw, in my opinion, that we've had in a while.
Well,
So,
it was that is in fact your highest rating you've given it since we started the podcast.
yeah. So,
So, I gave it a 3. Um, just there was some short points. The three-way women's tag match just fell, I found, almost completely. The United States title um just felt like a waste, but beyond that it was pretty solid the rest of the way
yeah.
through, if I'm thinking.
Sorry,
So,
what did you say you gave it? I didn't.
3.
3.
3. Um
Yeah.
so match of the night.
Edge and Orton.
Same, same.
Yeah.
Like, not to take away from any of the other good matches that we had, but the storytelling along with the actual match itself just being as fantastic as it was.
Yeah. There
Um,
was something about this match. It had the classic of when, anybody when they were kids watching these guys in their heyday. And it also had the new elements with Bliss being in there. Like, and by no means did this match lose momentum by Bliss getting involved,
not
because
one bit.
it it completely made sense. As soon as we saw Bliss talk, or not talking, staring at Orton on the ramp, I knew she was going to get
Yeah.
involved in some way.
The
I
thing,
just didn't. Yeah. Didn't know
no,
how.
yeah. Like, the thing is I found it works in a lot of ways because Edge was looking to close off with Orton, which
Yeah.
he beat Orton.
Yeah.
Um, and the thing is the way they finished it does not take away from that at all,
No.
because Orton was focused on trying to make sure Edge wasn't getting to Mania, and it didn't matter how focused he was. Obviously, the Fiend and Bliss had different plans, which means that he no longer has to focus on Edge. He lost. He's done. They have been messing with him too much at this point. He can now go full force there,
Yeah.
and it finishes it off great. Because the thing is, if Edge would have just beat him, cool, where does that leave Orton? If Orton would have beat
Right.
Edge, what does that do for anything? So the
Well,
way they
and
finished it, it continued everything how it needed to be.
and as well, if say Edge does win the world title and Orton has finished his storyline with Bray and Alexa, he can come back and be like, "Hey, that last match we had, I lost because my focus wasn't on you. My focus is solely on you now."
Yeah, and then
You
have
know,
one last good match at a pay-per-view for the title and finish
and
it
let it
off.
be a clean finish. Whoever wins wins. Let that be Edge's last match. Have Orton retire Edge, which again I don't hate, because that's storytelling. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's just, I think there's some cool storytelling elements that are going to come into play, and I really don't think we've seen the last of Edge and Orton.
Oh, I don't think so either. They touted it was, but
We know WWE. We were only supposed to get Cena versus The Rock once
once in a lifetime, but we got it twice.
in 2 years.
So, moving on, we got segment
Yeah.
of the night. What'd you give?
I gave it to Carlito and Jeff teaming up. Like, their match was great, but it's specifically them teaming up that I just loved.
That's fair. So I gave it to uh everything involving Bliss that
Okay.
night. So Bliss and
Yeah, she was very
Cross,
prominent.
her interaction with Orton on the ramp and then at the end. Just because I am enjoying this stuff so much, I can't I can't overlook it. But yeah, like Jeff and Carlito is a very good point because I mean, for us specifically, that nostalgia factor
Yeah.
just
As soon as I saw that or that the little notification that WWE gave for us for that match, I think it was during the US title match or the tag title match. I messaged you and I was like, Jeff Hardy and Carlito teaming up. That's cool. I
yeah
didn't even mean it in like Carlito's that's cool,
yeah
but it totally works.
oh
Like,
100% 100%. And before we continue, I totally forgot again. I am awful. Uh,
oh no, the Twitter ones.
the Twitter poll results. So this one actually was very decisive, almost on the results. We had 71.4% saying it was an awesome show, and
Nice.
28.6 sitting on the fence. Nobody that voted found that Raw was a complete bummer.
Yeah,
Um,
which is interesting considering we had a couple people say that about the Rumble. Like, that to me, that is really interesting because you would think there would be at least one or two people that could have the same gripes with this show as they did with the Rumble.
exactly.
Like,
So I was surprised by that. But moving on from segment of the night, we got performer of the night.
Edge.
Same.
I
I
mean, yeah.
an hour in the Rumble Sunday night. Fantastic opening to the show.
Yeah.
The promo, his moment with Damian Priest, and then finishing off the night in spectacular fashion. And
It was a 15-minute match, by the way.
okay, yeah. And the thing is I'll be honest, when they announced Edge was gonna be in a match, my jaw kind of hit the floor because I was like, we're getting Edge on free television in a match?
Well, no, I
What?
mean, that would be fine, but I was more expecting him to be active next week. This week, I thought would be his kind of rest week, let him
I
kind of
didn't
talk championships. And
like the thing is, I
so,
don't expect him to be that active in the ring though.
oh, I think until he wins the title, he might wrestle every single week.
Oh, I mean, hey, if he does, I'm not complaining. I've said my praises about Edge. I'm a huge Edge head, so if
Yeah.
we get Edge every week, as long as he's healthy and good to go, sure.
Yeah, I can only see that being the way they're doing it with how long he lasted in the Rumble and then immediately having another match. I can see Edge being active every single week, probably in tag matches where he might not be the central focus every single time,
I'm okay with that.
but
Yep.
he'll probably be on the card at least in some fashion in some kind of match, even if it's a match that ends in DQ in 2 minutes. I think WWE is going to put him on the card if they can find a
Yeah.
spot for him.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And then into our worst of the night.
Alright, yeah, like I already mentioned it, the US title match, like, just make it a longer match, and it's probably fine even with the finish. Like,
Yeah, if we would have
no,
gotten a little more with the same finish, I'd still be sour, but I think it'd be a
I'd be
little
sour,
less.
but I would be more ready to see because Riddle showed no offense is what I'm trying to say there. So, like,
Yeah,
say we had Riddle start off like he did, he started off jumping Lashley,
and
but
then it
almost
changed.
immediately was shut down.
Yeah,
If we had had 5 minutes of Riddle just beating on Lashley and then Lashley getting pissed off and DQing himself, then that's fine because that's actual story. But
yeah,
Lashley had no reason to do what he did.
exactly. I actually gave it to Riddle and Lashley as well as I gave it to the women's tag match
Okay.
because like sure Charlotte and Asuka just lost, but the thing is there was no point for them to be there again. The pairing of Naomi and Lana just seems really odd, and
Yeah.
the match itself just I mean, like I said, between the awkward tags and then no tags, but people becoming legal in the match, and it just didn't
Yeah.
work. Didn't work for me.
And, it's probably due to the fact that they were giving Lana her title shot back, because she was supposed to be teaming with Asuka, which in theory would mean she and Asuka were supposed to be losing the titles on Rumble night.
Yeah,
Obviously, that's all hearsay by me, just assuming that the story was going to stay the exact same. But considering we're back on Jackson Baszler, maybe not. Who knows?
yeah. I don't know. But yeah. So predictions. Either predictions going forward, going down the road to WrestleMania. We got Impact tonight. Dynamite and NXT tomorrow. Our next cast is on Thursday, which we'll be covering those three. Do you got any predictions for anything going forward? Uh,
Well, like I said, with Edge's thing, I think he's going to be doing his weekly thing. But well, I think AEW is finally going to give us more explanation as to what the hell this World Cup qualifier thing
I
is for the
hope we
women's
get
title.
more. And with Taya not showing up in the Rumble, I'm almost guessing that
She
it's a
has to be in
shoe in.
AEW.
It's a shoe in.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I would think we're getting at least an explanation of the rules of what's going on. Because right now we've been shown a bracket, and I think one match, Serena Deeb
and
versus
Riho.
Rio. Um, and I think that happens this week, doesn't it?
They never set a day.
No.
No.
Oh wait, and isn't it Beach Break
It's
this week?
beach break this week. We've got
It
the
is Beach
wedding of
Break.
Penelope Ford and Kip
Oh
Sabian.
yeah. Also, the
Um
best man's gonna be done now. That storyline's done after tonight.
well, they've explained that he's not just the best man of their wedding, but he is
No,
like
he
the
is
best.
the best man.
Yeah.
Like,
We've got Kenny and the Good Brothers against who is it? It's
oh yeah, John
Pac.
Moxley and Phoenix.
Yes, thank you. I'm like it's Phoenix, Pac, and but it's not Penta. It was Moxley. Yeah. So that's a huge match.
That's the main event. That's definitely the main event.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Jeez.
wow.
We've got
That's
Lance Archer and Eddie Kingston in a lumberjack match. You know how we said
oh,
we didn't
that's
expect to
cool.
see Archer afterwards? No, no, we're getting a lumberjack
That's
match.
fair.
Um, more
Yeah.
Dusty Cup on NXT.
Yeah, we're
Um,
getting I think round 2 of the women's is finally starting.
awesome.
Uh,
By the
I
way,
could
Casey was backstage at the Rumble in gear, but I guess never made it. And there was also some others from NXT and that were there in gear, but never.
I almost wonder if it was because Victoria and Tori Wilson might not have been able to be physically cleared. So they just kind of were like, "Hey, bring your gear, get ready, just in case we can't put one of these girls out," which
Yeah.
is totally fine.
Hey, that's
And
cool.
we didn't see any member of Casey's team, so maybe they are going to win. We did see Dakota Kai. We did see Dakota Kai.
Oh, that's fair, I guess.
So,
But
yeah,
yeah, and then Impact, I'm sure we're getting more to do with what is it? What is it that's coming up? No Surrender?
I think they're called. Yeah, I think it's called No Surrender. With Moose probably challenging Rich Swan. But because I think the February 15th or 14th with Tommy Dreamer, I don't think that's at the pay per view. I think that's just an Impact show, isn't it?
No,
Or maybe
that's No Surrender.
okay. So
That
yeah,
was
then
for the
that's
pay-per-view.
the. I wasn't sure if they had set that up for the pay per view or if Tommy's birthday just fell on an Impact show. I couldn't remember how that setup worked. But yeah, so that's the title match then, and but Moose is probably going to get involved.
Yeah. I hope we get more out of the Private Party Good Brothers this week on Impact, and I wouldn't even mind a little bit in the main event.
I mean, did you see what happened on BTE?
Yes, yes, I did the whole Festus bit.
That's just with a PH.
Yeah, just in case Vince still owns the name. I don't want to be Jesse. And can I just say the opening to BTE with the green screen, it's something I didn't know I needed until
Yeah. Oh, and as well, you were correct. There was no crowd during that tag match.
yeah,
And
so
yes, they definitely edited out bits with LG smoking a
I
joint,
went back and
passing it
watched
down
it
the line.
yesterday. I was like, I remember them setting up for the power bomb, but I'm like, I don't remember any of that. And like, I remember him when he was on the stage swinging the belt. He did that, but when he got in the ring and well, as they said on BTE, he ended up coming everywhere. Um, none of that was there, and so I'm like, okay, so it was very edited.
And that definitely means that that was recorded after last week or the week before's Dynamite or something like or even Dark this week or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
however they did it, that was definitely from the week before, which is fine. It's just I had no idea. I couldn't tell. All
yeah.
honesty, they
Well,
did a great job.
the thing is, I'm sure it had to do with scheduling and whatnot, which is totally a okay.
Well, I'm assuming the Good Brothers needed to be in Nashville for their tapings for Impact or something. There was no other way around it. They had to be there, and so AEW's like, all right, well, fine.
Yeah.
Like,
So, but yeah. With that being said, you got any more to add, my dude?
no, I think like that's probably our quickest roundup we've done. But I mean, this week's Raw, like we said, was pretty much just exactly what we would thought it would be. Just kind of cleaned up the little messes from Rumble and opened up the stories that are generally starting for the road to WrestleMania, which is always fun and always a great time. And I'm really sorry if you guys can't see me through the glare on my camera.
Oh, you're
I
still
I
pretty
will
good for
work
the
on
video
lighting.
cast. You're
Yeah.
still pretty good.
I will work on my lighting sometime here to make it less glaring.
Someday, someday.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that being said, thank you everybody for listening. We are uh we are live next Thursday. Here on our Twitch. Remember, you can catch the video VODs anytime on our YouTube, as well as shortly after the live ends, we post this right to the podcast platforms. And we're available on many major podcast platforms now: Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon. We are still awaiting confirmation from Apple Podcasts.
Is that the only
And
one we're waiting on now?
Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We're available on, I believe it's called Stitcher now as well.
iHeartRadio we're waiting on approval for?
Yep,
That's pretty cool.
yep. So obviously when we're approved on that stuff, you guys will know. But we're available on many. Actually, if you go into our link tree and go to our anchor page, you can find the links to all of them, as well as all the links are in our link tree as well.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. There's just certain ones that I am surprised about that I haven't heard. We we
yeah,
we talk about them all the time, right? So there's just certain ones that just don't get mentioned, and that's the first I've heard of the iHeartRadio one. That's one
yep.
that I even hear on car stations and stuff like that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, so we're waiting approval on a few of those. But yeah, uh, other than that, make sure to follow our Twitter, vote in the polls, tell us what you thought of shows, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Um,
like we said, follow us on Twitter, and if you see things on the new like stuff for news and wrestling, give us a tweet about it because chances are we didn't see it.
yeah, we don't
Like,
always catch everything. This is not our full-time gig. Hopefully one day it will be, and
hopefully.
we will catch everything. But
Yeah, we'll wake up, scroll through every news Twitter feed about wrestling, and we'll have it all. But as of right now, it is impossible to keep up with every single news piece that happens. As you can see, our news lines are sometimes long. They're sometimes only 5 minute talking pieces.
So,
So
but yeah, so other than that, thank you everybody for tuning in either live or listening, and we will see you on Thursday.
yeah,
Uh,
we'll see you then.
take care.